Tesla's eating the competition's lunch faster than me at a hibachi buffet. This is getting actually quite worrying for the overall EV industry besides Tesla. Ford is expected to lose $4.5 billion in 2023 selling EVs alone. And Ford doesn't sell that many EVs. This is a problem for everyone besides Tesla. Now, as Kathy Woods has said years ago, this really could be a winner takes most kind of market. This also makes me more convinced than ever that an announcement to license Tesla's full self-driving is going to come from Ford before it comes from anyone else. This just makes a lot of sense. And on that day, you'll want to be invested in Tesla. More on that later on into this video. This is Ford's ex-CEO, and I think he provides us a lot of clarity to the EV industry in general and the hardships that they are facing. Now, I think when you look at this with a contrarian point of view as a Tesla investor and all of the great things going on at Tesla, it really just puts it into perspective how far behind these legacy OEMs are to Tesla. There's literally no competition for Tesla. And Tesla's eating their lunch. Simplest way to put it.
The other automakers, not named Tesla, are listening.
Well, I think they are. I mean, the bottom line, Brian, is you're seeing EV sales grow pretty heady here in the U.S., right? In the second quarter, the EV market hit a record. We'll probably sell about 1 million EVs in the U.S. this year in total. And the market share of EVs is about 7%, which is about double what it was last year. The problem is that demand for EVs is not keeping up with production, right?
Besides for Tesla, Tesla's demand is almost perfectly in line with production.
You have, all the automakers introducing these new products this year. There's a lot more coming next year. And when you look at some of the barriers like price, range, and charging infrastructures, getting early adopters to buy your product is one thing.
That's easy.
Getting mass adoption is a whole lot harder.
Yeah. Listen, I get it. But let's forget about demand for EVs. We know the demand is growing, right? 93% of America.
And he's literally the ex-Ford CEO. And he's basically saying mass adoption is going to be very difficult for these legacy OEMs. Tesla's already doing it. I mean, that's the proof is there. Tesla has the world's highest volume selling vehicle, which is the Model Y, at least for the first half of 2023, likely for the second half as well.
Of Americans still on gas, but demand is growing. But they're losing $20,000 to $30,000 per car. So how do you turn that around? Because I'm sorry, as much as I might love the Mach-E, I'm not paying $100,000 for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key, right? Going forward, what the automakers do is they use their first generation product to learn and look at, how they can improve on the second generation platform, which, automakers like Ford are going to be doing in the next couple of years to bring the cost down. But the chicken and the egg problem, Brian, is, in the auto industry, it's all about scale and driving piece costs down. That means you have to be running your plants at literally full capacity. And the challenge for the automakers with the EVs is, listen, since the take-up is slower, how do they get those plants up to full capacity so they can get the cost down and also apply that to the next generation model? So at some point, for those automakers that have these, dedicated facilities, they're going to be faced with a choice. Do I discount the product to keep the plant going and get that scale? Or do I potentially take downtime at the plant, which is a big financial hit?
We have a giant UAW contract negotiation coming up. The UAW, my guess is, and I haven't spoken to them to be fair, but I'd love to, and by the way, they're welcome on the air anytime. Probably not a huge fan of EVs because they don't use as many parts. The deal will get done, and if the other deals that we've seen, longshoremen, UPS, pilots, the TSA, we'll tell you about that in a second, They're getting 30 and 40% raises, which we love, by the way. We want people to make as much money as possible. But how in the world are costs going to come down when labor costs are going to go higher, Mark? Hard stop.
Well, when you look at the UAW contract coming up this year, yeah, the optics are the automakers have made a lot of money in the last 4 years. There's new leadership in the UAW, and they feel like they have a mandate. And so they're going to want more, raises. They're going to want, cost of living adjustments, pension improvements. To your point, they really want to make sure that these battery plants that currently now pay at a lower rate than being in, one of the traditional plants, they're going to want that addressed. And the bottom line is you are going to see costs go up. That's just a fact of life that the automakers are probably planning for. But keep in mind, Brian, labor is less than 10% of the cost of a vehicle. But to your point, I think what you're going to see out of the automakers, and you saw this out of GM this week, where they added another $1 billion of cost reduction over the next year. That's anticipating higher labor costs, but they have to keep working down the base cost of the business to afford these EVs.
I hear you. I drive 500-600 miles a week on average, Mark. I'm telling you, I see the new Bronco everywhere. By the way, if it's a 4-door, the 2-door is a little funky if it's small, but the big Bronco, I see it everywhere. I don't see a lot of Mach-E's, and I just hope Ford, which is a great company, F-150 is fantastic. I have a lot of friends there. I hope they're listening. I just wonder if they're listening to the customer or trying to force something on the customer that the customers are saying, we don't want.
Well, for right now, the whole industry is faced with that exact issue, which is, it's about cost, and the industry is going to solve that over the next couple of years. It's around range. That's going to, get solved. But the real issue, Brian, to your point, is convenience for the customer. There has to be a...
Tesla has already solved all of these things. Tesla makes a highly profitable electric vehicle with very solid demand, the best charging infrastructure out there. I don't think he's necessarily incorporating Tesla in this. I think he's really talking about those legacy OEMs, your GM, your Ford, your subsidiaries of GM, even like your Chevy and other, companies that are going to make EVs. They're years behind, multi-years behind Tesla. That's very encouraging if you're a Tesla investor, especially around that licensing of full self-driving, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment.
There has to be a compelling reason to buy these EVs. And if I don't have a 2-car garage that I can, charge my vehicle at night, it's going to inconvenience me to spend 45 minutes at a charger to fill up, if you will. You could argue that this isn't going to be solved until you get to, solid state EVs, which have a much shorter charging time and more akin to filling up at the gas station.
I think that the solid state battery will be the game changer. I wonder if it's like 1910 right now for EVs. Mark Fields, really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Tesla is doing exactly that. To the last point made in that video, you got to be able to charge your vehicle quickly. People are used to gas stations, getting in, getting out 5 or 10 minutes. Well, Tesla's doing just that. Tesla confirms the V4 supercharger will charge at 350 kilowatt hours or 115 miles in 5 minutes. Guys, the competition is doing nothing remotely to scale or comparables of Tesla, no matter what you look at it. This is starting to look like a winner does take most kind of market. Ford said, quote, electric vehicle adoption is taking place more slowly than the company expected, in part because of higher cost. Its Model E electric vehicle unit lost $1.08 billion in April and now expects to lose again $4.5 billion on the EV business this year, widening losses from roughly $3 billion a year earlier. So in the last 2 years, Ford is basically saying they're going to lose around $7.5 billion. What are they going to do at this point? They literally cannot afford this. That brings me to, I think, the most profitable question of all for Tesla, licensing of full self-driving. If Ford can't even make a profitable vehicle now, and likely won't be able to for many years, you think they're going to be able to make a full self-driving software? No. they're going to have to partner with Tesla. And I think they realize that a lot faster than some of your bearish analysts do. They literally have no choice. Or you just let full self-driving continue on. And as Elon just said today, it's mind-blowing what the V12 version of full self-driving can do, which is not going to be a beta. I mean, you just have no choice if you're a Ford. And I think that's probably one of the biggest catalysts that we'll get potentially throughout the rest of this year. And at that moment, you want to be a Tesla investor. This licensing of full self-driving, I think it's more obvious now. The first partnership is probably going to be Ford. They're the ones that really need to do this and could actually probably help their EV business quite a bit. If I were to imagine this happens in the beginning of 2024, maybe at the end of this year, but likely in the start of 2024, and at that moment, Tesla stock likely hits all-time highs within just a couple of weeks. This would be the biggest change to Tesla's business that you have seen since the introduction of full self-driving. It would be massive for the bottom line, as full self-driving is mostly a profit business. It's like 90% margins on top of your obvious hardware like the cameras and the service updates. It's around 90% margins. Call it 80% margins. That's going to do wonders for Tesla's bottom line. That's already quite healthy. Speaking of Tesla eating the competition's lunch, Volkswagen today also cut their sales outlook as EV competition heats up. They went from previously estimating deliveries at 9.5 million to now seeing deliveries around 9 to 9.5 million. Their cash flow also plunged 72% in Q2. The only one that's really not seeing this is Tesla. There's nobody that even compares to Tesla as far as their financials at all. You have to look in China, and you can only trust their books as far as you can get your hands on them. I mean, you can't trust them at all. So there's literally no competition for Tesla for many years to come. And as Gary Black says, Tesla stock is going to catapult in this next upcoming year. And that's because of deliveries and ultimately the Cybertruck being like a massive billboard to drive sales to Tesla.
Joining us now is widely followed Tesla watcher and future fund managing partner and co-founder Gary Black. So Gary, listen, I got a lot of creative comments on Twitter, X, whatever, on the Cybertruck. Everything from I love it, can't wait to take ownership, to something about a Pontiac Aztec Honda Ridgeline love child. Anyway, we did a little poll on this. Look at this. 50% of the people said they love it. 33% said they hate it. I don't know, 16% said they're not sure. I don't know how people are not sure of anything, but do you take solace from the pictures and from the public small sample reaction?
Well, it's big, it's bold, and it's gorgeous. And what you've got is 1.9 million of pre-orders. That's a huge number. And what's going to happen is this thing's going to start deliveries probably end of third quarter. It's going to be priced, the base model will be priced right below $50,000. And it's going to start rolling across America. It's going to be like a rolling billboard. And people are going to see it. And they're going to be like, wow, that's really interesting. And they're going to go to the website and they're going to order a Model 3 or a Model Y or a Model S or a Model X or a Cybertruck. And you're going to produce this whole halo effect, which is exactly what happened back in 20 when the Model Y first came out and people didn't know what to make of it. This is even more grand because it's not going to cannibalize any of the base products, because Tesla has never been in the pickup truck business. So you're not going to cannibalize anything. So it's going to be a home run for Tesla, and it's going to really catapult the stock, and it's going to really catapult volumes into next year.
Well, I appreciate the optimism. Let's throw the pictures back up. I want our audience to look at them. Again, this is not the full Cybertruck. The trim is kind of hidden. That's the video of what they've advertised. We're showing now, Gary, which is not really what the picture is because they're trying to mask some things. We certainly get that. But it's a unique looking vehicle. I'm not sure what you can do with it, right? You can tow stuff, I guess. what's the purpose of this? I think
It's positioned as a pickup truck lovers, especially if they're a little younger. The 65-year-old may not like it, but the 40 to 50 something pickup truck owner will love it. It's very different. It's powerful. It'll go from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. It'll tow as much as an F-150 does. And I'm telling you, once it's out there, people are not going to be resistant. You stand next to it. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", and I stand next to it, and the thing just dwarfs me. It's huge, but it's beautiful. When you look at it, there is nothing else on the market like it. And so go out 3 or 4 years from now, you're going to have this Cybertruck, and let's suppose it's doing 350 to 400,000 units a year, and the street's only looking for about 150,000 a year. So that's worth 60 cents a show in earning. You could then bring out a smaller one if you wanted to that looks like that would basically sell very well in Europe or in Asia as well. So I think I think people are missing the whole point in this, that not just do people want a Cybertruck, but just it being out there, it's going to create a halo effect for the entire Tesla franchise, just like what happened when Model Y came out in 2020. And you remember what happened to Tesla stock price in 20. It went up 7-fold because everybody got excited about Model Y, new TAM, incremental volume. Volumes went from 36% growth in 2020 to 87% in 2021. You're going to see the same thing happen next year with the entire Tesla franchise.
Yeah, my only concern, listen, as a guy that tows a lot of stuff, the range is not going to be good. So, no electric car can tow anything for very long. But that said,
this will. The battery's going to be huge, Brian.
How big? How far I know we don't know all the specs, but the F-150 Lightning, if I towed my small boat, I'm getting like 150 miles, and I got to unplug the trailer to back the car and to charge it. Like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that for the price. Is this going to be better than that? Can I make it from, if I'm a rich tech bro, and that's who's going to buy these at first, can I make it from Atherton to my chalet in Tahoe on a charge?
You'll be able to go even towing something. And again, you have a double motor, a 2-motor Cybertruck, a tri-motor Cybertruck, and a quad motor Cybertruck. And it's going to have a huge battery. You'll be able to go at least 300 miles on the small one, probably 500 miles on the big one. And you're right, we haven't heard specs given out, but I think it's going to be such a compelling value for a pickup truck owner. A lot of people are going to buy one, and a lot of people are going to be very excited about it, and they're going to tell their friends, and then everybody's going to want a Cybertruck. Just like, think about Model Y. This thing came out in 2020. It's now the best-selling vehicle in the world. Think about that.
Yeah, outselling. I think I saw a story outselling Toyota now in California, but I feel like it's a coastal phenomenon so far. The middle of the country.
Model Y is not, Brian. Model Y is the best-selling vehicle in the world for the first quarter and likely in the second quarter. And again, with Cybertruck, 1.9 million pre-orders, and anybody, including me, put a pre-order in. But I would bet, and this is what Tesla's telling its suppliers, they're going to do 375,000 a year once they get ramped up. They're going to build this thing in Texas in the Austin plant. 375,000 a year is a lot of trucks.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
Finally, an analyst is actually using their brains. I specifically like what he said around the Cybertruck not cannibalizing the other products that Tesla has. This is a brand new product segment, and at the same time, your Ford F-150 Lightning, which is losing massive amounts of money, only has around 200,000 pre-orders. The Cybertruck has 1.9 million pre-orders. Now, I know that a lot of these will be canceled, the Cybertruck pre-orders. A lot of people just ordered, multiples, but a lot of them are still going to end up deliveries. And even if you're conservative and say half of these are just false reservations, well, you're still looking at 3 to 4 times the Ford F-150 Lightning's reservations. And I also like what this analyst says about a, driving billboard or walking billboard, whatever he said. That's also exactly what I've been saying for months now. Cybertruck is unlike anything you see out on the road, and that's only going to help Tesla bring in more clients. So for these reasons, very optimistic on Tesla right now. It's important to know that the broader markets are selling off recently. Today, Tesla stock fell over 3% because the broad markets fell. And I will remain with this overall thesis. Tesla is not going to fall separate to the markets, meaning that if the markets rally, Tesla is going to rally more than the markets. If the markets fall, Tesla's going to fall more than the markets. That's just how these things work. So nothing is set in stone as of right now. We have a major decision from the Bank of Japan coming out literally within the next hour and a half or so here, maybe 2 hours, that could also move the markets quite a bit tomorrow. And the data is going to be important tomorrow morning with the personal income and personal spending data. You're also going to get core PCE month over month. If this number comes in higher than 0.3%, you're in a probably world of hurt for the markets. We're expecting 0.2% for the core PCE, and there's a lot of other PCE data points that come out tomorrow as well. You want to see those come in below expectations. Personal income, personal spending expected to be strong. Personal income expected to come in at 0.5%. Personal spending expected to come in at 0.4%. So as the data evolves, as the situation evolves, you need to be a nimble investor, especially in 2023 when the markets have rallied quite a bit. You got to be on the lookout for any potential negative catalyst. And when new information comes out, you got to be able to change your thesis. As of right now, I'm very confident that Tesla stock will be higher 3, 6, 12 months from now, and probably quite a bit higher, especially if the Cybertruck comes as we expect by the end of Q3. And you get a full self-driving licensing announcement maybe by the end of this year or the beginning of 2024. Those are events that could push Tesla stock to all-time highs. Just what Gary Black said, I think, is also notable to point out. Tesla volumes grew over 80% the year after the Model Y was introduced. So 2021. Model Y was introduced May 13th, 2020. Probably something similar is going to happen this time around. And I think eventually the markets look at Tesla and say, hey, Tesla is really the only automaker that is making profitable electric vehicles that has a future here. This might just be a Tesla world, and everyone else is paying rent, as Dan Ives says. So let me know what you guys think about all of this information down below in the comment section. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you made it to the end of this video. You like my perspective or you learned something. But that's it. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.